Every time I hear the theme song, I start thinking about all of those games from, like, the NES era that I never played.
All of them.
Pretty much all of them. Like, wasn't there the Mother 3
Those, I don't think those were released in the US, so you're good.
That's why I didn't play it.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome to Total Pebble Knockdown. I am Nathan.
I am Alex, and this is our show.
It is, and it's called Total Pebble Knockdown, if you were not aware. It is a show. And believe it or not, there are no pebbles involved.
There are thousands of pebbles involved behind the scenes. That's why we're always tumbling.
That's true. Most people don't know that the internet is just a series of pebbles. But anyway, on today's show, we have some very interesting topics. I think that we are pretty much all tabletop all the time today. It's tabletop prime time. Prime table time. Alright, so, Weekly Muse.
You are, by the way, really quick, you're really washed out right now.
I'm washed out?
Yeah, your face.
Maybe it's because this is, like, dark.
I think something on your screen is probably white.
Oh, you know why? Yeah, because, how about now?
Better.
It's
better.
I have my Word doc up. I don't actually need this up right now.
Okay, yeah, no, it's just, like, really, really bright.
Oh.
Like, excessively bright.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah. Hoping that's a little bit better.
Yeah, that's it doesn't have the glare
glare
on your skin now.
Yeah. It's these damn screens.
Yeah, I sense that first part's not in the video portion typically.
No.
I was
Only
like,
in the yeah.
Yeah.
Only
I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on before you jump
minute.
in. Let's get you looking facey fine.
Face fresh.
Anyway, all right, now we can jump in.
Fresh to death.
Now we can jump into it. Yeah, fresh to death.
Cool. Okay.
The fresher schist.
The freshest.
No, the fresher schist.
Oh.
Anyways, all right, now we can get into it.
Great. First up on the show is a Weekly Muse, and as of this recording, this is actually yet to release, but by the time you hear it, it will be out. We have Strixhaven, an actual book, a D&D book, nonetheless, that is going to be coming out.
A D&D book that I believe is based on Magic the Gathering.
I believe so. It's called Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos. The School of Magic is in session, according to the D&D page on this. And
you know what I hope that we get with that? I hope one of the for Magic specifically. I'm sure it's already out, but I hope instead of like remember when they did the types of like the guilds?
Yeah.
In Ravnica, I hope we get cliques because it's a school.
You just want Mean Girls.
Mean Girls, the RPG.
Mean Girls, the RPG. Yeah. Okay, that's great. I can't wait to be a member of the Plastics. They could be minis, but the minis have to be made of plastic instead of metal. That's how it works.
Well, yeah, Anyways.
That's fine. And
Strixhaven.
I will still fail to make fetch happen. Roll for fetch. Anyway, actually, just to clarify, the fantastical setting is based on Strixhaven University, drawn from the multiverse of Magic the Gathering. So yes, it is indeed drawn from that. And provides rules for creating characters who are students in one of its 5 colleges.
Yeah. I think there was some, maybe it's another setting that had to do with school type stuff that was people were up in arms over. I don't remember.
Yeah. Terrifying if true. On the, let's see. It's a multi-year campaign. I'm guessing multi-school year campaign in terms of the
yeah.
thing.
I'm assuming this is like Harry Potter.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that. You start in your first year students who study, socialize, and adventure their way to graduation. There are new ways.
Graduation was a real adventure all along.
And it turns out that the real heaven was the friends we lost along the way.
I'm kind of wondering what. I mean, I know D&D is an all ages kind of game, but a lot of the people that do play it a lot more often, I feel, are adults. So I'm wondering which of these adults want to relive their high school days.
Well, the thing about it is, though, you just mentioned Harry Potter. And,
I mean, yeah, that's true.
And I'm thinking to myself that there's a lot of kids who grew up in the age of Harry Potter, like when that was first coming out and that was big, and a lot of like YA fiction that revolved around it was coming up. And if you think about it, and this is scary to think about, that's like 10, 15 years back that really started. So now they're adults, and they're probably playing D&D.
That's true.
So for them, this actually might be very nostalgic.
That makes more sense than us being like, yeah, I'd really love to relive my, like, high school days.
I do.
Let me go get my Letterman jacket.
Did you have a Letterman jacket?
No.
I didn't think so. The letter that would be on there is a question mark.
The letter, I had a letter, and it was from doing chorus, and it was K for my school. I didn't put it on anything. They're like, here's a letter, and I'm like, yay. Why would I want... People in their 30s and 40s who still wear Letterman jackets from their high school days startle me.
Yeah, you realize that they don't have a lot going on. No, their life pretty much you can tell their life ended at high school. They had nothing afterwards.
Their peak.
They peaked at high school, and that's why they will never shut up about it. Let's see what else we have. A few little pointers about what is going to be in Strixhaven. There are new ways to experience D&D through the academic challenges, extracurricular activities and jobs, relationships explored on campus.
You can also do Animal House.
Oh, you know what?
Hijinks.
You probably could. You could do Animal
I was gonna say Robot House, but that's Futurama's version.
Robot House. There's actually, if you think about this, if you want to do a school setting, there's actually a whole lot of interesting things you could try. You could do, like, Back to School. Could you imagine playing a character as Rodney Dangerfield? I would absolutely love to do that. What would Rodney Dangerfield be if he was a D&D character?
I'd rather do Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, but the thing about it is then your characters are never in the school.
Exactly. It's more fun that way.
It's more fun that way. 4 adventures that can be played as standalones are woven together to create a campaign, taking players from level 1 to 10. That feels fast.
Over 4 years?
1 to 10.
Over 4... I mean, what if you stay back a year?
Oh, that's true. You're just graduating as like a level 20. I never really grew up.
I was peaking.
Yeah. Players can create characters using the new race presented in the book. Yes, we should probably talk about this, which is the Owlin, one of the owl folk who study at the university. This does definitely feel Harry Potter inspired.
Sounds like a hoot.
It does sound like a hoot. And the thing is, if you play an Owlin, you are obligated to ask all the other players how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop.
I guess so, yeah.
Or you have to answer it for them. I think that's how the owl thing worked. Anyway.
Who knows?
So the thing about it is that I did want to talk a little bit about the Owlin, because when that was first announced, there was a lot of people that were kind of talking about it. And I think there were a few people that were kind of like going, why is every new character just an anthropomorphic version of an animal?
We're catering to the furries.
It's a
and
good
that's
audience.
Okay.
It's a good
and
audience.
that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. We can do that.
I know our demographic data doesn't tell us if anyone's a furry, but just know that everyone's probably a furry.
That's a missed opportunity, in my opinion. They should really give me data on these.
You know, Nathan, if you get a little lapel mic and a fursuit helmet, I'm sure we can get more views.
I'll get one of the dead mouse helmets.
Perfect.
That would be great.
I'll get Marshmallow.
Yeah, you're Marshmallow. You know what we do? We just get the biker helmets and we just pretend we're Daft Punk.
I've already got one. It just needs to be blacked out.
Yep, exactly. We'll just repaint it. It'll be fine. Some features, though, of the Owlin, I believe it actually has night vision. That was the other thing that people were complaining about, and I actually have to say, I kind of understand it. I understand why an owl person would have dark vision or night vision, but there were a lot of players that were like, at this point, there's so many races that have night vision. Can we have like a color that's darker than night so that it evens out the playing field here?
So yeah, I was looking through the PHP the other day,
Yeah.
making characters and stuff, and I was like, oh, elves don't have low light vision anymore. It's just dark vision.
Everyone has dark vision.
I don't think I realized that.
Yep.
Because it used to be low light vision, which as you can see in like, low light settings up to like 120 feet.
Oh yeah.
Like you can see normally up to like 30 or 60.
Hmm.
And then anything past that is low light up until like 120 for elves because they're very keen eyes.
Right.
It's just dark vision 60 feet. I was like,
Now, I thought half elves also have that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I didn't look at the half elf specifically, but I think they've got their eyesight from their parents, from their elven parent rather.
Right.
I
mean, it would kind of make sense if they still had like a low light vision.
Yeah, and then I think
had dark vision. Yeah.
Dwarves have it.
Yeah.
And I don't know about halflings and gnomes. The half orcs have it.
Don't tieflings?
Tieflings 100% have it.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's like, all right, so maybe humans and
humans don't.
Maybe the gnomes and halflings, but it's like, all right, so I guess everything but the human gets to see in the dark.
Yeah, there's a lot of other races that are from the expansions as well, and you notice that there's quite a few that have dark vision. I think, like, especially like the bird kind of races, a lot of them have it, and
they should just have electromagnetic vision.
I know the Tabaxi do. But yeah, a lot of people were like, okay, at this point, if so many of these characters have dark vision, it starts to lose its usefulness to actually be in the dark at all.
Yeah, and if you do human warlock, you can just give yourself an invocation for dark vision at will.
Yeah, and I think that if you are if you're like a tinkerer, if you can make stuff, I think that you can make dark vision goggles as well.
Oh, those should just be really cheap then, since it's like, oh, these are cheap.
Yeah,
because the only people buying it are humans.
Right. But I think I remember when I was putting together an artificer, I think that one of the things that you could technically make if you had the resources was like dark vision goggles. They were in like the realm of stuff that you could build. So I guess at that point anybody can just have them if they can,
I want to make a pair of cursed dark vision goggles that take away creatures' dark vision when they wear it.
Oh my goodness, that would be something else. Yeah. So that was a little bit of a point of contention. Some of these other things, though, do feel like they're starting to get pretty traditional in a lot of the races. So arms and legs like other humanoids. Well, that pretty much is everybody. I don't know why they had to specify that. Wings, they have wings and can fly. There's actually quite a few races now that can fly.
Yeah.
I think the Kenku can fly, if I remember correctly.
I believe so. They're like a little raven thing, right?
Right. I could never remember if the thing was that they couldn't fly, but I think they can. They can hop. They don't walk like normal people. And then they also...
Birds walk normally, Nathan.
They could, if they tried.
They can't. The only birds that don't walk normally are hummingbirds.
Right.
Because they don't have any leg muscle.
That's true. And then, of course, the Aarakocra, they're able to fly completely. Some other things, when you heard this, you were like, oh, I know what kind of character this is for. Makes no sound when they move or fly, and can be nocturnal but don't have to be. So
100% rogues or shadow monks or assassins. It's like, why would you not? I mean, you could do ranger. I guess that would make sense. Really good at hunting as an owl. But like,
probably
that's
not
like
with the bow though. How would the owl hold the bow with wings?
It's a crossbow. I mean, it's got arms and legs like a normal humanoid plus wings.
Oh yeah.
And in the image, it kind of looked like the wings are on its back.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Which is a little weird.
Yeah, that's not how owls work,
but yeah, like you could.
Person.
You don't have to pigeonhole it into being a rogue, but
Yeah.
doesn't make sound when it moves. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
unless you want to do a caster that is very silent, a sneaky caster.
A sneak caster.
Mhm.
We could always have a sneak caster.
I mean, especially since it's Strixhaven, you could do like an arcane trickster rogue.
Oh, yeah, that would be interesting. I don't know. I kind of like the idea of having a warlock that was the owl. I could see that.
Maybe.
Maybe. For no particular reason, just I think that sounds like a neat idea. But
A hootlock?
it sounds like a hoot. Yeah, a hootlock.
No, hootlock.
Yeah. Yeah. A hootlock. Whatever you want to call it. Hootlocker. Anyway, so there's the Owlin. A couple other things that they make notes of just in the quick notes. Adds a new player character option, including some feats and backgrounds, and includes some new spells and magic items to help them feel connected to the college when they join. You encounter over 40 magical, mysterious creatures and NPCs in the bestiary. Hopefully none of them are Dementors. And Strixhaven can easily be dropped into any D&D world or campaign with the provided rules for adventuring as a student of magic. So,
oh, okay. So it's a multi-universe university.
Exactly. It's a multi-universe university.
I was gonna say that.
Uni-university.
Multi-university.
T. There we go. We got it. We got it in 5. Perfect. Multi-university. That's, So anyway, yes, you can drop that in any one of your games, if you want them to suddenly be going to a school, I guess. And relive all of the horrible, horrible things that happened there.
Hey, you know what?
It's D&D.
Some characters never went to school, and this is their chance.
This is their chance. This is the Rodney Dangerfield chance that we all needed, so he can go back to school. That's what you do. We create Rodney Dangerfield, and this is why they made it. I'm pretty sure that's the reason. It was not about Harry Potter.
It was Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
It was
as you
about
said.
it was about that, or maybe somebody watched too many of the Police Academy movies. I don't know what it was. No, you know what it was? They just rebooted Saved by the Bell. That's what they were thinking about. It was Saved by the Bell.
So who's gonna be Screech?
The owl. Are you kidding me?
That's true. The owl's name is Screech.
The owl's name is Screech. That's perfect. That's perfect. So, very interesting concept. I like the idea that they're trying to theme this a little bit more specifically. Sometimes I see a lot of the setting books, and it does feel unique, but, you know, in terms of what the actual campaign is supposed to be, it doesn't feel tremendously different. This does feel like they're trying to organize it in a different way than your typical campaign itself. So that's a neat idea. But how do you like the general idea of trying to do a school setting for an RPG?
I think it's interesting. It's definitely mixed where I think the audience for that is. Obviously, they're definitely piggybacking on the Magic the Gathering crowd, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I don't know who specifically would like to play a school setting in an RPG.
Mm.
So I'm kind of, I feel like that's a hit or miss for people. I think it's interesting. I think it'd also be interesting to play like the teachers in a setting like that.
Oh, you want to play the Snape?
Yeah, I want to play Snape.
Yeah.
Severus Snape. Dumbledore.
You want to play Dumbledore? That would be good.
No, I was memeing, Nathan. I was memeing.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to go with McGonagall. Why not? I can play with the Sorting Hat. That'd be great.
You can be the Sorting Hat.
Could I make a character based on the Sorting Hat? Like, if they're making all of these different characters, why can't there be, like, a Hatkin? And
I mean...
DC
why
would
not?
love that. DC would love that. Be right on top of that. But, yeah, I mean, at some point, though, they are going to run out of animals to anthropomorphize
No.
into races.
We can have all sorts of things. Cows.
Yeah. Okay.
You can finally make your hell bovine character.
Moulins? We'll call them
Moulins.
moulins, yeah. Milkokra.
No, get out of here.
That's a good one. You know what I want? I want a race that's based on tardigrades.
Why?
Because water bears would be absolutely terrifying to play.
Yeah, but they don't look like any bear.
They don't need to look like an actual bear.
They do.
They have so
Made of
many
water.
hands. Think about how useful that would be. You could carry all the weapons. If you had a tardigrade, what could we call that? A tardigrada.
No.
There, I just named it.
No,
for
instead, I'd rather do an axolotl.
Oh, axolotls would be fun.
Because then you can axolotl questions.
Yes, I know how that meme goes. Yeah. Oh, Tardigladius. It's an actual sword made out of a tardigrade.
That would have to be made out of a ton of them. Because they're tiny.
Nah, you upscale them.
Enlarged tardigrade.
Enlarged tardigrade.
Man, I wanted someone to use enlarged person or enlarged creature spell and have it miss the target. And then suddenly just a giant tardigrade.
Yeah, just a giant tardigrade. And it's your pet now.
And it's your enemy now.
And it's your enemy because it will probably try to eat you. But it's fine, folks. You've probably eaten more tardigrades in your lifetime than you will ever remember.
I don't think that's true. Anyways.
Well, they live in water. And chances are you've drank water at some point.
Nope, never.
Okay. Well, anyway, hoping that they totally turn an axolotl into something, and a tardigrade into something. And if you're coming up with a book about that, Wizards of the Coast, please let us know. We would very much like an advance copy.
I don't think it's advanced at this point.
No. Well, it would be if it turned out they were actually trying to make a tardigrade.
Oh, you meant for that? I thought you meant for Strixhaven.
No. I know. I said if they're gonna make an axolotl or a tardigrade.
I'm sure someone's homebrewed it.
Probably has. Tardigrades are great. They're also incredibly small, and there's a ton of them, and they will probably take over the world. Actually, there was a whole thing where they said, if you were an alien coming down from space, you were aware of the entire, all the species on the planet, you would be right to think that it's actually a planet of tardigrades.
I don't know how they'd be aware of every single species on the planet when we're not, but that's fine.
Because they're aliens and they have advanced technology. There should be a D&D campaign where it just takes place on an alien spaceship. It will be like the Mothership
There are plenty
Zeta.
of those. There are plenty of those campaigns.
There are?
It may not just be D&D, but there are plenty of those games.
Okay. But in D&D, I'm just like thinking Mothership Zeta.
I'm sure that exists.
Okay. I mean, Mothership Zeta wasn't very interesting, but I guess don't do that then. Never mind. Alright, so, continuing to get through our backlog of Discord discussions this week, we have something from Seagoat777, the one and only. Well, actually,
the 777th iteration of
Seagoat. Yeah. Why isn't there a Seagoat race in D&D?
It's, anyways.
So, anyway, Seagoat writes, something I was pondering were tool proficiencies and languages in D&D. How often have players, or DMs, used language proficiencies in their D&D games? Never? Once per campaign? Every session? That's a pretty good question. I'll get to his comments on it in a second, but just initially, how often do you really focus on tool proficiencies?
Tools not as much, except when they're needed, because those are a very situational thing. But language also is a very situational thing.
Hmm.
So for tool proficiencies, like I was just thinking the other day, thieves' tools are including everything you need to pick a lock or disarm a trap.
Hmm.
So you would use those in conjunction with, I believe, your like sleight of hand.
Okay.
I'd have to look up what thieves' tools kit does exactly. I don't know if you can use it in lieu of that or whatnot, but I've never really focused. Clearly, I don't know what because I've never focused on it.
Right.
But you would need that toolkit to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think without those, you'd be improvising. And I
Okay.
think you get a disadvantage. I'd have to look it up right now.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that you could, like, I always felt like thieves' tools were supposed to be things like lockpicks.
Yeah.
You know, like stuff to actually break in or enter into areas that you are not supposed to be in.
Okay, hold on. A tool helps you do something you couldn't otherwise do, such as craft or repair an item, forge a document, or pick a lock. Proficiency with a tool allows you to add your proficiency bonus to any ability check you make using that tool.
Okay. All right. So, are they basically saying I can't do a thing unless I have the tools specific to it? Because I kind of feel like, a character, depending on what you're good at, maybe you could improvise something.
So I'll read the thieves tool one here. It's a set of thieves tools includes a small file, set of lockpicks, small mirror mounted on a metal handle, set of narrow bladed scissors, pair of pliers. That's what it includes. Proficiency with these tools lets you add your proficiency bonus to any ability checks you make to disarm traps or open locks.
Okay, so you get your proficiency bonus.
Yeah.
By doing that, and so it doesn't exclude you from doing a thing.
Right. So I think in the case of like disarming a trap or opening locks, you would need your thieves tools, or you would probably get disadvantage and no proficiency bonus if you're using improvised lockpicks, maybe.
Yeah. I use a rock for a lockpick.
That's not
smash.
That's a lock break.
Still works.
But yeah, so I guess that's important if you're doing a campaign where you're paying attention to it. That could also be something people don't pay a lot of attention to, kind of like encumbrance and carry weight and that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, encumbrance is always annoying no matter what you're playing. Because everybody wants to carry everything. It's always the reason why I appreciate it when you see games like Wasteland 3 was a good example of it, where they were like, yeah, there's just no carrying capacity. Just carry everything. Right. There's no chest or anything to hold stuff. And everyone was like, excellent. Perfect. I'll take it.
On the other side of that, languages are always situational. And I did comment on this as well in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just anywhere civilized where people would know common, for instance,
yeah,
not a big deal. But perhaps you're in a city that is just like gnomes or just elves or dwarves. Like maybe you're under the mountain.
Right.
Maybe you're speaking to people that only speak Dwarven, except for maybe traders who would know extra languages.
Okay. Yeah.
Or maybe you're out fighting orcs, a nomadic tribe of orcs.
Sure.
They probably wouldn't know common.
Yeah.
And then goblins. Goblins tend to sometimes know common, but you could have them not.
Right.
So languages is definitely one of those things where it's like, all right, well, if you want to avoid a fight, it's good to know other languages.
Sure.
Because then maybe those goblins that are screaming, just like that. That's what they sound like.
Yep. Great.
That's their new sound. Maybe that means, hello, friends. And what you're hearing is, what you assume is them trying to murder you.
Like it's
so then
Klingon.
Yeah.
Klingon
So
always
then
sounds
you
Danish.
murder the entire goblin village, but they really just wanted to greet you.
Yeah.
And now you're the asshole.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in D&D, or in most games for that matter, you have to start asking yourself if you're the asshole.
Always.
Because you probably will be. But the thing that I always felt about languages was I always felt like they were kind of an afterthought. If you really look at them in practice for how D&D is built, any of the player races that you play, they're all like, well, they speak common and they speak these other things. I don't think I've seen a single one of the races that you can pick at the very beginning that doesn't by nature just speak common. So, and any of the additional languages are mostly situational to other characters that you would meet inside of the world, not to communicate inside of your own groups or in normal cities.
I think it would be really interesting if you had a party that was all within the same race or clan. Say you're a clan of half-orcs or a clan of half-elves, or no, maybe not a clan of half-elves, but like if you're just all elves or all dwarves, if you're all the same race or half race, like, you know, you could be elves and half elves, but you're on one town that is just this one race, essentially, not a melting pot.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, we're all elves, we're different elves, different classes, but we all speak elvish, and that's it.
Right.
But then you have to wonder, would people that you come across speak elvish?
Yeah, I mean, if they're elves, probably, but you don't know.
Sure, other elves, half elves probably.
Right.
Maybe some merchants and scholars, but
Oh,
outside of that, I think it'd be a fun thing to deal with, being like, all right, we don't know the local language.
Right. And considering how many languages there are, it would actually be kind of interesting if you had a party and there were a few characters that happen to know a specific language that doesn't come up very often. And so if they wanted to communicate something inside their own group that other people were not overhearing, they would
I mean,
speak
that's
it
the
in
thing you
that.
can absolutely do.
Yeah.
Like, if you had a party of all thieves,
Yes.
you could speak in Thieves' Cant, or Druidic if you're all druids.
Right.
But that's class specific.
Yeah, but you know, there are backgrounds, because I remember I think I had a hermit background at one point. There are, or a scholar's background, I think is another one. There's several that will actually say that you can take an optional language.
Yeah.
So at that point, if you took an optional language and other people in your party happen to take other languages, maybe you studied at the same place so that you have a specific language that you're familiar with, and you need to communicate stuff, you know, in secret, assuming that other people don't know.
Maybe you all took Infernal at Strixhaven.
Oh, that's true. This would actually be really good for Strixhaven because, you know, maybe there's language courses and you're realizing I can't communicate with this whole other group that's around. Maybe there's language courses.
That would actually be interesting, yeah.
That would be fun. How long do you have to study the language in order to actually be able to speak that language?
Well, in the book, you can learn language in 250 days.
250 days? I would certainly...
That's what D&D has for, like, learning in your off time.
Okay. I would certainly hope if you're in a school, it might go a little bit faster. If you're taking a specific course for that. But then again, in real life, it takes you many years, usually, to be proficient in a language. I remember Rembrandt was actually... Well, he would speak Common, and he also knew Aquan, technically, because he was a turtle.
Language of the Aqua folk.
Yeah. But the one that I took, because I could choose another one, he knew Dragon, basically. And the reason why I actually had the in-lore one was because he studied at Sunscale Temple, which was built on an old dragon mound. So they had all of the old lore from the book. So everybody that studied there ended up learning Dragon from the text and everything that was there.
See, I have, usually I also mention that too, is I've definitely done cases where players may take a language, such as Draconic, that they learned from their class. Like a wizard would probably know Draconic, because usually a lot of arcane spells are written in Draconic. However, they may not know it aside from what their spells are. They may not know it conversationally, but they can read it.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't be able to speak, like, sentences. They wouldn't be able to have, like, a conversation with you in Draconic.
Right.
Because it wouldn't make sense.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I didn't really have a lot of opportunities to. As I'm thinking about it too, we actually did encounter a dragon, like a frost dragon, I think a blue dragon maybe, or a white dragon, I believe. And I did not think to speak to it in Draconic.
I mean, a white dragon probably wouldn't talk to you. It'd probably just breathe frost on you.
I mean, it was not very communicative.
Yeah, no, they aren't.
It didn't like to talk. We did have
No, white
slight
dragons don't.
But
Blue dragons are lightning, by the way.
Oh, blue dragons are lightning. Oh, okay. I thought that those would be yellow dragons. Are there yellow dragons? There's golden dragons.
No, I don't think there's yellow. There might be yellow.
Maybe there's the thunder dragons.
Maybe. I can't remember. I could be wrong in that. I think one might be a cone of lightning and one might be a line of lightning, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Are there any water dragons?
Like, yeah, dragon turtles.
Oh, that's right. Those things are deadly.
Yeah, they breathe. Their breath weapon is steam.
Oh, that's
steam
good.
Steam is worse than like fire in a lot of cases.
Oh yeah, just ask a lobster.
No, I don't think I will.
No, there should be a lobsterkin.
I was just thinking that.
They'd speak
We got
Aquan
one
too.
giant claw and another fine manipulative claw.
Yes, that you can use the spine manipulative claw as your thieves' tools.
You can be Crablante from One Punch Man.
Yeah.
From the first episode, the guy with the just wearing his underwear and giant crab claws.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I could literally be Krabby. If you play a Pokemon, you could be Krabby. Sea Goat writes here, just I'll go back to his comment. I've played a bit of D&D over the years, but not really used languages all that much, maybe once or twice a campaign. Magic is the get out for this, especially at higher levels. So who needs languages, right? I'm in a D&D game based on 9th century Europe, and have had to use my language proficiency every other session or thereabouts, which makes sense within the game. Where it doesn't make sense is in D&D, with all the varied races and cultures around the table. Having traveled extensively around the world, when you travel to a different country, those natives speak to each other in their own language, and all their personal material is written in their own language, which I don't readily understand. So why is it different in D&D? Should DMs make more use of languages in the game? I can kind of understand the idea of adventurers going to distant lands needing to be aware of languages. I'm just mostly trying to figure out if it starts to inhibit like the flow of the game if it's too heavily focused on.
Well, I think one way you get around that too is, aside from the magic portion, which he's absolutely right, you learn spells and you get innate abilities to read and speak languages beyond your own with several classes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Warlock can just take an invocation that's like, I can read anything.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter.
Sure.
You know, that's super handy. Like, it's like, take this and you never have to worry about it again.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you had a setting of D&D that took place like Europe, where it's multiple countries or places that speak very different languages, it would be more important.
Right.
And either you'd have to know the language of your neighbors, for instance, which, you know, in a lot of places, like even Canada, they know, like Quebec.
Yeah, you
they
probably
primarily know English and French.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if it's your neighbors, but if you're going far away, it would be like, all right, do I know this language of Great Britain when I'm like somewhere far else? Like the Irish and the English obviously would know each other's languages kind of there, but like with the French necessarily, well, if they're trading with them, then perhaps, but if they're not trading, then maybe not.
Right.
I think then it comes down to, you could implement translators in game.
Okay, that would be
So
a valuable skill.
if you wanted to, even not as a skill, but if you had to hire a translator,
Oh, okay.
you could do that. You could be like, all right, this person is proficient, or you could be like, maybe they're a bad translator.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they don't actually know anything that language is, and they're just conning you.
We got the Barkin basement translator.
Yeah. Maybe you're just getting conned. I think that would be an interesting hook.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you could go to a foreign country, hire a translator, and he's working with everyone just to con you.
You kind of go like, yeah, well, we had a couple options for the translator we could get. And this one, like, costs, like, 100 gold. And this one costs 5 gold. And you're like, oh, well, I want the deal. So I get the translator that costs 5 gold. But every interaction that you have when he tries to translate, he translates poorly. And ends up just getting you into constant fights with everyone you want to trade with.
Or they just lead you into a cartel that abducts you.
Yeah, that's a whole
Human trafficking.
Yeah, it's the exact kind of campaign.
Or elf trafficking.
Or elf trafficking, yes. That's totally the campaign everybody wants to get into. I would think, though, that with a campaign, like if you were setting it in Europe, or something like that, where you have a lot of countries right next to each other that all speak very different languages, you would assume that when you're actually building your characters themselves, you imagine that they probably do have multiple languages, just because if they're living in that area where that would be useful, they might know more languages than in other areas.
Yeah, I mean, in that specific context, I think it would be based on you'd have to have a background.
Yeah.
Like, build your background out. What did you do for school? What have you done? Kind of, why would you know this language is
right
a thing.
And I think there are some backgrounds that are like the more scholarly backgrounds where they will allow you to pick a few languages.
And I did answer in my thing too. I usually make my players have a reason for knowing lesser known languages.
Sure.
Like, if you want to know Celestial, you had best be like a cleric or have a reason for it.
Well, and like I said, the reason why I could say that Rembrandt knew Draconic was because of where he studied, and that he actually would have seen texts and been around people that were speaking it. I don't necessarily know if it makes a lot of sense, unless you're studying to be a translator in a game, to just suddenly say, yeah, I know how to talk to birds now, or whatever. I just know. Did you spend a lot of time around birds? No, but I've seen some. Okay, that's not really gonna work. That's not going to make for a very immersive experience.
Right.
And I do feel like Common, in terms of the language portion of this, is sort of an out, because so many same thing like night vision. Actually, Common is like used by everyone. And I feel like you need other versions of Common. So, like, you have English, but...
That exists. In, like, the Forgotten Realms, there are multiple variants of Common.
Okay.
Based on region.
Okay. Because I start thinking, like, we're in America, and technically we speak English as a primary, but really we speak American. Like, we speak American. There's a lot that you wouldn't understand if you actually went to England.
You wouldn't understand.
No. And some of the dialects are gonna trip you up real easy. And you would not necessarily understand Gaelic or Celtic, even though they're on the same area. Totally different thing. So I don't know about that. Tool use, though. We'll go back to tool proficiencies for a minute. I always kind of figured that if you're a thief, they kind of give you thieves' tools. Like there's a lot of character classes where they just kind of go, yeah, you have it. I've not seen a case where they're like, this is the class that you have, and you don't have the tools you need. You have to figure out what to do.
There are other tools than just class tools.
Okay.
There's like disguise kits, forgery kits, artisans' tools for professions.
Okay, yeah, the artisan tool. I always thought disguise kits, though, were pretty typical of, like, bards, possibly, or, or rogues. depending on what class you're at. But I didn't think that I might have to, like, forage for them. I kind of figured that
You might have to go buy one.
Might have to go buy one.
And some of these toolkits, I think, are limited use.
Oh.
Perhaps.
Okay. I mean, it would make more sense if they were limited use. I don't think, like, thieves' tools usually have that built in.
I mean, not unless you break them. If you critically fail several times, like a couple times with lockpicks or with disarming stuff, you might have your lockpicks broken, for instance. I would do that.
Sure.
Like, oh yeah, you critically failed on that chest and you broke a lockpick.
Yep. And so you might need to replace that or do something. You probably have
you have a set of lockpicks. I'd assume it's like 5 to 10.
Yeah, because you need certain types. You need your rakes and you need your pressure plates, your little tension
rods.
Tension rods, yeah. Now, I did not have thieves' tools, but I did have a kit, and I think that this is why I'm not sure if tool use is all that useful in most games. But I had an herbalist kit, and the thing about it is that when you actually look into what the herbalist kit is supposed to have, it will mostly help you make, like, potions, but it does take you a while to make said potions. And I can't tell you that I ever actually had a reason to use it. I did try to justify my ability to try and stabilize someone who was on a battlefield, because I had the herbalist kit, but honestly, that doesn't really work. The herbalist kit is not built for that.
No.
But had I known, I probably from the start would have said, as I'm going along, when I don't have to take my long rests because I'm a monk, I will work on making potions so that I can pass that out, because that's kind of what the herbalist kit is for. But I never used it, and I never really had much use for it, so I just never interacted with it. It was in my kit. I had that, and also I had a dragon chest set for reasons.
Which you never used?
I also never used it. I never had to.
That's for, like, if you want to do, like, social interaction with, like, a game set, I feel. Or if you want to gamble with your game set.
Oh, yeah. And I still don't actually know what the rules of Dragon Chess were. Or if
I don't think there's
no
rules. I don't think there's rules.
They didn't. They just
put... It's just a skill check.
They put a dragon in front of chess and said, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Do that. So, do you think that DMs should make more use of things like languages and tool use in games?
I think it's situational, depending on what your focus is on the game. If it doesn't make sense to put more emphasis on that, or if it would slow the game down, then don't do it. But if it would be thematic, if it would make sense, and if it would be interesting for the game, then go for it.
Okay. I'm gonna say that for me, most of the time, it will probably slow down a lot of interactions, so I don't know how much I would use it as a mechanic in a game. The only real reason is because I usually like my games fairly mechanics light when I'm playing. It's the same reason why I'm not a big fan of, like, the, how I need certain things in order to cast a spell. I need, like, a small piece of carrot and all of that. I don't want to deal with that crap. I don't want to figure out if I have the piece of wool and this. Yeah, and this
I was explaining
branch.
that the other day when we had been making the cleric. Is that, a lot of spells will have material components, but generally speaking in games, unless it takes something that is, like, more than several gold pieces worth of equipment, if it's a diamond, you need to have that. But, like, most games I've played in don't really keep track of that, but you can also offset it with your arcane or divine focus or your druidic focus.
Sure.
Or with a spell component pouch, you can be assumed to have basic components for things.
Right.
So, like, unless you're using stuff that you have to actually get, like diamonds. or anything that would cost more than, say, a gold piece typically,
Mm-hmm.
you would need the component for.
Right. And I found that what we usually did with spells is simply say, assume that you know what your spells require and that you have a pouch that would have those kinds of materials
Right.
in it as typical. Then I found out that I didn't even have to worry about that because I was a monk.
Yeah.
So I just use key points. And so
Yes.
that's totally pointless to even worry about the material components. Languages, most of the time, unless it's specific to a scenario, like if it's specific to the campaign or the mission that you're on, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Tool use is not typically something that comes up. Unless
Well, maybe you just need to use your tools more.
Maybe you do, or maybe you should be more aware of the kinds of tools that you have if it is something that comes up more situationally. Like, for instance, if you're a thief, you probably want to be very aware that you have a thieves' tool kit, that you want to have a thieves' kit on you, and that you might want to have a disguise kit because chances are you're going to be in more situations where those things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't really fault anyone for having like a crafting kit, but being aware of what you can actually do with that kit is very useful. If I had known that the herbalist kit was as useful as it was, I probably would have used it more. And I didn't at all.
Yeah.
Wait, I could have been making potions this whole time?
And antitoxins.
I could have been making antitoxins this whole time, and I didn't. And no one in my party, I think, even knew that I had an herbalist kit. Until the point where somebody's dying, and I was like, oh, crap, this would have been a really good time to have a potion I could have been making this whole time. Whoops. So, I can understand the reasons why they're there, but for me, just because I want to try and streamline things usually, if I'm running or playing a game, I try not to think too much about those deeper, more in-the-weeds mechanics.
Yeah.
Like languages and tool. You know what you get? Is you get one of those little translator apps on the magic phone that you have in the game.
There you go.
And you just have it translate all the languages and then also explain to you how to, make kits. Or you buy it on the fantasy version of Amazon. Oh, Fantasy Costco. I'm going to go straight to the Adventure Zone reference there.
There you go.
You just go to the Fantasy Costco and get it in between sessions. There you go. But anyway, we are continuing to have that conversation over in our Discord. And so if anyone is out there and would like to chime in or has a similar subject that you'd like to discuss, please visit us over on Discord.
There you go. I think you need a translator for that one.
I do. We need to translate from Common to Nathan. And back. You know what it is? Is that there's a language for Total Pebble Knockdown, but it's just whatever language you speak, but you put rocks in your mouth when you say.
We call it Pebbleese.
We call it Pebbleese, yeah, exactly. And if you speak Pebbleese, that's fine. You can use that over on the channel. Thanks for that. And the last thing on the show today is a very special delving deeper because it is a farewell to delves. Very shortly, around the time that this is going to release, actually, delvecast.com, a little website that we used to run, is going to be kind of going into archive mode for however long, pretty much until the end of time. It's fading into the past.
Yes.
And hey, Alex, that was only like, 2-3 years of our life, I think?
3 or 4.
3 or 4? Yeah, exactly. So if you haven't listened to those episodes, too damn bad. I think you can probably still listen to them, actually.
Yeah, they're still online if you need to find them.
Yeah, if you need them for the archive's sake, I think that they're probably up. Who knows? At some point, maybe we'll make something more convenient, but that's not a priority right now. We're trying to do this thing. But yeah, our website is old website at least is going to be going down, and that's a little sad. But we started a new thing, so here we are. We originally, I was trying to think, what was the original post that we had back, the very, very first post, I think it was in 2015, I want to say. We started the show on Mad Adventures, and
Yeah.
It was in,
I think it was like April?
Yeah.
May?
I want to say it was like in April. And then when when Mad Adventures stopped, we ended up going and doing Delvecast, and that was after a couple years of being on there, and then from like, I want to say 2017 or early 2018, I think, we were doing Delve over at Delvecast specifically.
Yeah, I think we were only on Mad Adventures for a year to maybe 2 years, tops.
Yeah, it was a little bit longer than... If only I had a magical way to tell. That would be incredible.
A magical way to tell.
Yes, absolutely. You're going to see this wonderful thing coming across the screen as like I scroll on the other on the other end. Because remember, we have like 300 episodes I have to scroll through here. And I'm realizing that that's going to be one sensation when you go to the website at the end of the year you're not going to have. But we started back in... Oh, there we go. March 23rd, 2015 is when we did the very first week. You're so close. March 23rd, 2015, we did the original Delve. Our Journey Begins, the one that we usually don't talk about. So the one that was really worthwhile was Delve 2, which we did on March 30th. But that's where we started there. If I remember correctly, we were on there for a little while until we did the Popular Cheese. I think that, yeah, Avignon, I believe, was the first one that we actually did on the new site, and that was January 10th, 2017. We had actually made mention of this. Yes, that was around the time, the beginning of 2017, we started Delvecast, because we had the episode And the Delve Goes On, and then a PSA just to let people know that we were moving over.
Yeah, it's nice to PSA people.
Yeah, so at the very, very end, December 29th of 2016, we did our last show for Mad Adventures, and then moved all of our archives over to do Delvecast, and just redid the 93 episodes we had. We put those up. You know how much fun that was.
That was
a lot
fun.
of work. It was work. And then started in talking about popes. That was the first episode that we did on the new show.
I don't remember that one. It's fine.
It's fine. It's good. But then we talked about things like fast, obviously. And we had episode 100 shortly after we started the new show. So,
yes.
So that was nice. We got to do that on the new website. But the thing about it is...
We were bi-weekly then.
We were bi-weekly?
Weren't we?
No, we were still doing it week to week.
Oh,
we were still doing it week to week. There was a point, though, that we were doing 2 a week. But that was kind of out of necessity. We had so many interviews, and they were all kind of time sensitive. So there was 3 or 4 weeks where we were actually doing a couple episodes a week, just to make sure that we could get everybody in there in a timely fashion. But it was only because of that.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure we could get everybody in. So yeah, if you were to go back, you would see that there were a few weeks, I think in 2018 actually, where that was happening. But it was not typical. We would be like, okay, here's another episode for the week. Don't get used to this. This is not going to be an all-time thing. And we just, we had gotten so many interviews at that point. I think there was at one point that we were doing, 2 or 3 interviews a week?
Yeah,
that
we were
was
doing
set.
quite a bit. You weren't working at that time, so our schedule
Right. Yeah,
was a lot more open.
my schedule was definitely more open. It was during that time where I was like, I had left my job because we were gonna do Rift Hunters, and that looked like it was gonna be much more of a time issue for me, for what I would have to do, because at that point I was pretty much gonna run the thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that has a lot of potential, but then we stopped doing that. So then I was like, oh, boy, now I have some time on my hands. I guess I can work on some other things. And so we were able to just set up interviews whenever we wanted, pretty much. As long as you were available, I knew I was going to be available. So that's always helpful.
A little bit harder now.
It's a little bit harder now because I work during days and you work during nights, so that's a little bit tricky. But it gave me a lot of opportunity during that time too, because I got to play in my first D&D game. I got to do some streams. I got to do a lot of really neat stuff. But that was all during the time that we were doing Delvecast. And the real reason why we did Delvecast in the first place was pretty much out of necessity. We knew that we were going to be doing the show. We were going to keep doing the show. People had asked us to keep doing it. And we just didn't have a home, so we just had to create a home quickly. and that's what we came up with. And so it's a little sad to see it go, but one of the reasons, because we do get asked this question occasionally, is well, why are you doing the Total Pebble Knockdown now instead of just continuing to do the Delve? And it's kind of because of that reason. When we started Delvecast, it was out of necessity to keep the show going, and we kind of had to create it on the fly and just keep doing what we were doing.
Yeah.
And
maybe we didn't have to.
We didn't have to, but it was like what we were used to doing.
Yeah.
And so we kept doing it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a bad format or anything. Like, it was fine.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, we did get burned out a bit on some of it at the end of it.
Yeah.
By the end of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Probably about a year before the end of it. Kind of.
A little bit. But that's kind of why we decided on this format. Like, we've been working on TPK since
beginning of the year.
Yeah, since January, February.
Mm-hmm.
Where we just kind of wanted to make sure we had a format that we liked, that was doable, sustainable, and more fun for us to do.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of things for podcasts are like, yeah, niche down. It's like really pile drive into that one niche you want to talk about and do a show about. But
yeah,
we did the opposite, because instead of our show before was super niche. It was like, we're going to talk about game design mechanics.
Yes.
Which is fine. We still like to do that.
Oh, yeah.
But we wanted to also be able to talk about more stuff and not be so off-brand.
Right. And what you might have found, too, if you had listened to Delve, is that we had gotten to a pattern where, you'd have the subject, and then we'd end up going on the random tangent thing, which, we still do, but at least it's a little bit more organized because it's in sections. So we can organize the chaos a little bit better. But we just really wanted to have the ability to actually build something that we had time to build from the ground up and design the way we wanted to, which is just something that we never had the real ability to do when we started the website. It was just not in the cards. We were able to do a little bit of different graphic design and change some formats around a little bit, but we never really had the opportunity to just stop, relook at what we wanted to do, and do a revamp. And I think by the time we realized what we wanted to do for a revamp, we were like, I think we just gotta create a whole new show and start from scratch.
And look at what we've done.
We have, and let's face it, TPK does look and sound a whole lot better than Delve did. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Now we just need to get the audience.
Yeah, we need to get the audience back, but that's a growing process. It is growing slowly, but it is growing. And as we find footing as well, and people find us, that's also useful as well. Yeah, doing the segments is good. It keeps this a little bit fresher. We did get very long-winded toward the end of Delve as well. If you remember the hour-plus episodes.
We still have hour-plus episodes.
Yeah, but it's several segments inside the episode.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier to listen to now.
It's a little bit easier. You have a little more bite-sized chunks that you get to do, and it's not just the meandering part of it as much.
Yeah, and I mean, we do want to get back to having some guests on occasionally as well.
Yes.
I think we're still ironing out how we want to do that specifically. I think one thing we would like to do is definitely like interviews like we've done before. As their own kind of features.
Yes.
And the other thing I really want to do is have guest hosts on.
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking about as well. Actually do a regular episode of the show, but have a third person included in that show.
Yes. So, like our show with the segments, we could be like, all right, we're going to talk about these 3 topics.
Yep.
And it's 3 of us. Which may end up going a bit longer on guest shows.
Oh, yeah.
But that's fine.
That's fine.
But I think it'd be fun, because then it's like, all right, we can do an interview with you about whatever game you're working on or something like that. That's fine. But we also like the idea of having someone on to have a chat and a conversation with about topics that either they suggest or that we have that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a couple other features that we're wanting to do as well as individual like segments or specials.
Sure.
Those are not priority at the moment, so.
Right. So, again, that is still a process that we're ironing out. That's how you actually apparently say it. Ironing it out.
Ironing
it out. But we had a lot more time to try and brainstorm that beforehand. And considering it wasn't just the Delve part of it, but when we were doing Delve, we were also talking about all of these other kinds of side projects we wanted to do. Lots
of them.
All these other side projects. And what we realized is that inside of TPK, the segments can kind of end up being a lot of the side projects too.
Yeah.
At some point. So that if we ever want to do Power Outage or Bear Tank or any of those, we could actually do them as segments or do them as features, and encompass them all in the same kind of more variety show, conversational style gaming podcast that we're doing right now. I had actually, like, while we were still doing Delve, Digressions and Dragons had started and ended, which was, Angry GM and Fiddleback doing that. And I listened to those, and I thought to myself, this is actually kind of great. Like, I kind of like the idea of being able to just have 2 people sit down, have a conversation that revolves around games, and not necessarily have it so structured, but have many different topics in an episode. And this is a little closer to that, although probably a little more organized, just because we were like, well, we kind of want different topics and segments and styles for different things, So there is that. However, there is one thing that we are I am going to miss more than anything with the end of Delve. And I think everybody knows what it is.
Is it the flare riff?
I do love the flare riff, and thank you, Matt Soul, for the flare riff, by the way. Want to get that in. But, no. It's the spam comments.
Oh.
Everybody knows.
Yeah.
It's the spam folder. And Alex, I thought there's no better way to send Delve off than to read a few that have just come in the day we're recording this.
Oh, boy.
Now, I'm going to throw one in chat for you that I saw, that I was like, I think that this is probably more up your alley. But as you can see, we are still getting many comments revolving around vape shops. Some now that are incredibly long-winded. So thank you so much for telling us about being nominated UK's top health and wellness store. And this was on apparently the 10 Candles episode we did.
Perfect. Makes sense.
Yep. So there's that. I'm hoping. But there were a couple others I thought that I would read, because I don't want to read the giant vape shop ones. But here's just a couple. The last ones. Okay. From this is from Beauty Fashion, by the way.
Perfect.
For Dr. McFly's Fantastic Beasts and How to Avoid Them. That was the blog I still keep, but excellent beat. I wish to apprentice you while you amend your website. How can I subscribe for a blog website? The account helped me a acceptable deal. I had been tiny bit acquainted of this, your broadcast, provided bright, clear concept. Well, clear concepts seem to elude you, but that's okay. So there is that. A lot of them are pretty much as well written as that. They are still asking me how to make blogs. That's great. But this one, I had to end on this one. Because this is just too good, Alex. The username is in a foreign script, so I don't know what it is.
Oh, good.
Different characters. But it was put onto episode 174, Plane Crafters. Of course, like your website, but you have to take a look at the spelling on several of your posts. A number of them are rife with spelling issues, and I am finding it very bothersome, to tell the truth. On the other hand, I, definitely come back again. Okay.
Thanks for that.
We'll totally get on the spelling issues. You might want to as well.
You know what? No, they have a point. And the point is, there are too many spelling issues on this website and in the comments, and we're just gonna have to shut the whole thing down.
Yep, we gotta shut the whole thing down. It's gone. Because, you know what? I had an umlaut out of place, and that shall not stand. We will have to shut the whole thing down. We'll start from scratch. It's fine.
Shut it down.
We'll shut down. We'll start from scratch. In the meantime...
But will we open up a new shop?
As long as it's in a dungeon.
Because that's how the Rough Riders roll.
Can I have a ham sandwich?
No.
It will cure my rickets and my HP. Okay, fine. Delvecast.com, we salute you. You have a good one.
We pour one out for the homies.
We pour one out for the 300 homies that we lost. It was a good run, but every race has to come to an end.
Eventually.
Eventually. Apparently in about 5 years. That's how long it took.
So that's a long marathon.
It's a long marathon. If you've been running a marathon for 5 years, ask somebody if the marathon is actually still ongoing.
Ask your doctor if marathons are right for you.
Yeah. Alright. Alright, so that does it for this episode of Total Pebble Knockdown.
And that does it for delvecast.com.
That does it for delvecast.com, and also technically Delve in general. It's kind of the last hurrah, but that's okay. Because if folks wanted to find out about stuff that is not Delve, but is Total Pebble Knockdown, where could they go?
You can find us at our not brand new, but our glorious new and much better looking.
Yes.
TotalPebbleKnockdown.com.
You certainly can. You will find this show as well as a couple select episodes. Jeez, what the hell did I just do? Sorry, microphone. You will find those as well as a few select episodes of Delve that we actually put into like a little video wave format as well. You can find those over there, some of our favorites. And some of the other projects that we do over there. Some more content is incoming. Always be aware of that. You can find our Patreon over there as well. You will find full-length episodes in video format of this show that come out before the edited podcast, so that's fun, and early releases of other content that we put onto the website. We are on every podcast app known to mankind.
And then some more. Not known to mankind.
Exactly. You might actually be hearing this just through airwaves.
Telepathy.
Yeah.
That's how radio works, Nathan.
Yeah. Radiohead. Radiohead that put us into songs is just like the ether of the universe.
Okay.
You're hearing it. If you live in the mountains and a wind blows through the mountains, chances are
That's
it's
us.
carrying... chances are it's carrying this podcast. And you can also find us on social media, especially Twitter. I am at Titanium.
I am at EXP Limited, and our show is at Pebble Knockdown.
And of course, you can either get us over there, or you can get us onto our Discord channel if you have any suggestions for episodes, comments, etc. And you can even leave a voice clip over on our Anchor page. And we might
Haven't got one yet.
Haven't gotten one yet, but again, it's a building experience. It's a rebuilding year. And so, with that, we are going to end this episode, and we probably will not see you till the new year after this one. Chances.
Who knows?
But we are definitely into the wintry time of year, so please bundle up, stay warm, and if you have any pebbles around, make sure they're hot rocks. And
For a massage.
For a massage, yes. Or
'cause you earned it.
Or for a makeshift lockpick. That's the only toolkit you really need, is a rock. Rocks solve all your problems if you think about tool proficiencies.
Yeah, you just let them lay the smackdown.
Yeah. Nobody really needs to have any toolkits if you just have a rock.
Have the rock.
Though, yeah, sorry. Yes, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is your jack of all trades for everything that you could possibly need. The rock of all trades is all you need. All you need to do is just watch the filmography. Just watch his filmography, you'll realize, oh yeah, if I ever needed to get out of a specific situation, what are you proficient in? I'm proficient in Dwayne Johnson.
There you go. Perfect.
That's the character we need to build. In the meantime, while we go figure that out, we will rock you like a hurricane. Thank you for joining us on Total Pebble Knockdown, and we will see you on the next one.
Bye.